Hey everyone, so I have two very different iPhones in my hands right now. On this side, I've got my product red iPhone 13 mini, and on this side, this is the new Lavender iPhone 17. And yeah, the size difference is, pretty obvious. This 13 mini, man, it's still special. It was kind of the last of its kind, and it's been my trusty backup phone for a while now. My battery health is at 91%, and I have it in my pocket all the time. It's just a great little go-to device for testing betas or when my main phone is charging. This iPhone 17 though, this is what Apple thinks the future of the standard iPhone should be. And I've been using this as my secondary daily driver for about a week now alongside my 17 Pro. It's brand new, 100% battery health, just under 10 cycle counts. So in this video, I really want to talk about what it's actually like to jump from a phone like the 13, which let's be honest, so many people are still using, to the brand new 17. We're going to cover everything: the design, that new 120Hz display, performance, the huge camera changes, and yeah, we need to talk about Apple Intelligence. This is for you. If you're using a 13 right now and you're wondering, is this the year? Or, maybe you're on an older phone like an 11 or 12 and you're trying to decide, do I save money and get a used 13 or just go for the 17? We're going to try and answer that. Let's get into it. Oh, and real quick, just for disclosure, everything I say about this 13 mini, it applies to the regular 6.1-inch iPhone 13 too. The only differences are, the obvious ones. The 13 regular has a bigger screen and thankfully better battery life. I'll make sure to mention what users are saying about that too to make sure this is a valid review for all 13 owners. So before we review it, I think it's important to remember what the 13 was. When this phone came out back in 2021, it was a refinement, but a really good one. The biggest deal was the chip. This A15 Bionic inside the 13 was, and honestly still is, a beast. It had this new 16-core neural engine, a 4-core GPU, and it just flew. It's a huge reason why this phone still feels so capable 4 years later, which we'll get to. And then there was the camera. The hardware was a good 12 megapixel system, but the software was the new big ticket item. This was the first phone with cinematic mode. Remember that? It was that feature that could automatically shift focus, do that rack focus effect you see in movies. It was capped at 1080p. So, not perfect, but it was this really impressive flex from the A15 chip. And for this mini, specifically, this was Apple's last shot at a truly one-handed flagship phone. It's so light, fits in any pocket, it's just comfy. A lot of people were sad to see this form factor go, and honestly, holding it now, I totally get why. Okay, so using this 13 mini in late 2025, the design, it's still premium. Flat aluminum sides, ceramic shield, this product red still looks fantastic. And the 5.4-inch display, it's a great sharp OLED screen. But yeah, it's a 60Hz display. And in 2025, that's the first place you feel the phone's age. It's not slow, but when you put it next to any ProMotion phone, you see the choppiness in the scrolling. It's 60Hz, you know what I mean? Now, performance is a really interesting story. Like I said, this A15 chip is still very, very capable. I ran Geekbench 6 on it and my scores were 2,329 for single core and 5,652 for multi-core. Honestly, that's still really good. In my day-to-day use, apps open pretty quick. Yeah, not as instant as the 17 of course, but it's still decent. Swiping between apps is smooth and I can even play some pretty demanding games on this. It gets warm for sure, but it handles it. Okay, but here's the real bottleneck. It's not the chip, it's the 4 gigabytes of RAM. This is the thing you will feel every single day. Modern apps, especially on iOS 26, are just demanding more RAM. I'll give you a perfect example. I'll be browsing an article in Safari, I'll swipe over to check my Instagram, maybe change a song in music, and then I'll check a photo I just took. When I go to swipe back to Safari, boom, it reloads the entire page. It happens pretty often. Now, like I said, the A15 is fast, so the reload itself is quick, but it's that constant reloading, it breaks your flow. If you're a heavy multitasker, this is probably the single biggest downside to using a 13 in 2025. Alright, battery. Now for me, this 13 mini is a backup phone. It sits on my desk, it's in my pocket, I use it for testing, it's not my all-day daily driver, and my battery health is still at 91%, which is pretty solid. But I have to be honest, the 13 mini was known for having the shortest battery life of the bunch. When it was new, it was okay. In 2025 on iOS 26, with 91% health, it's not great. I can kill it pretty fast if I'm gaming or scrolling a lot. Now, if you have the regular 6.1-inch iPhone 13, your experience is definitely better. I've checked forums and most people on a 13 regular seem to get through most of a day. But a lot of users on iOS 26 are reporting that the battery drains faster and gets warmer than it used to. So if you're a 13 user, your battery is probably the other thing really pushing you to upgrade. Okay, now the iPhone 17, and I'm just gonna say this is the biggest upgrade to the base model iPhone in maybe ever. First, the display. It's finally a ProMotion display. 120 Hz all the way down to 1 Hz for the always-on display. This has been the single biggest reason to buy a Pro model for years, and now it's here on the standard 17. It is a dream come true. It makes everything feel fast, buttery smooth. The user in me is like, finally. The reviewer in me is like, this just made the Pro models a much harder sell. The design is also refined. It's got the softer edges like the 15 and 16. It has the action button. It has the new camera control button from last year. And the screen is a little bigger, 6.3 inches up from 6.1. But the bezels are so thin that the phone, it doesn't feel that much bigger. It just feels all screen. More immersive. It feels so much more premium than the 13. And then there's the performance. This has the new A19 chip. I ran Geekbench 6 on this too. Get this, 3,573 single core and 9,143 multi-core. Let me put that in perspective. Those scores are insane. This chip is faster than the A18 Pro in last year's iPhone 16 Pro Max. The A19 is an absolute monster. And when you pair that chip with a 120 Hz display, that's the magic. You know, I'd say the iPhone 16 base model last year was also very fast, but that fast chip felt wasted, you know? It felt choppy because of the 60 Hz screen. On the 17, it's a different story, and with the new liquid glass animations of iOS 26, it is just chef's kiss beautiful to use. I haven't done a ton of gaming yet, but come on. With this chip and this screen, every game from casual to AAA is going to be incredible. Battery life, I mean, it's brand new. The health is 100% and I've only got like 10-ish cycles on it. But my initial impression after a week, it's really good. This is an easy all-day phone, and from what I'm seeing online, most reviewers are saying this is a 2-day phone for light users. A massive step up from my 13 mini. Okay, this is another huge leap. The 13 has a dual 12 megapixel system. It's good, it's reliable, it's what we've used for years. The 17 has a dual 48 megapixel system, and this isn't just about more megapixels, it's about what those megapixels can do. First, the main sensor is larger, so it captures more light, manages exposure better, and low light shots are just cleaner. But the real magic is what Apple does with that 48 megapixel sensor. You now get a high quality 2x in-sensor zoom. It's not a true telephoto lens, you still need a Pro for that. But for someone coming from a 13, you're effectively getting a 2x zoom lens, and it looks great. Second, that 48 megapixel ultra wide camera. It's now so high res and has a new sensor that it can be used for macro photography. That's another feature that was Pro only for years, and it's now on the base model. So going from the 13 to the 17, you are gaining a 2x zoom and a macro lens. That's a massive jump in versatility, but the camera that's been all over, you know, TikTok and Instagram, it's the front camera. This new 18 megapixel front camera it's just really, really smart. It has a new square sensor. What that means is, okay, this is cool. You can hold your phone vertically like this, you know, for a normal selfie, but you can tap a button and take a landscape photo without turning your phone. It's using a different part of that big square sensor. It's so useful for group shots. And it also has center stage, a feature that used to be just for iPads. So if you're on a video call or even just taking a selfie video, it will automatically pan and zoom to keep you or a group of people in the frame. It's a really fun and genuinely functional upgrade. Android phones are, I guarantee, going to copy this. Okay, let's talk about this Apple Intelligence. I have to be honest and upfront here. The iPhone 13 and 13 mini do not support Apple Intelligence. Apple says you need a 15 Pro or newer, so the 13's A15 chip is just not on the list. The new iPhone 17 does support it. It's got the new chip. It's got the full AI experience. Now, for me, is this a deal breaker? Honestly, no. And here's why. as of right now, in late 2025, Apple Intelligence, it's still, like in its early days. It feels like a public beta. Apple is rolling features out really slowly. And frankly, the alternatives that I already use, like ChatGPT or especially Google's Gemini, are in my opinion just so much more powerful and capable right now. I mean, you see the reports, Apple is lagging behind and is even rumored to be using Gemini to power the next version of Siri. So, I'm already using the tools that Apple is reportedly trying to catch up with. So no, the fact that my 13 mini doesn't get Apple's current AI features, not a deal breaker for me. And if you're on a 13, I don't think it should be the only reason you upgrade. The display and cameras are a much bigger deal. Look, the downsides of the 13 today are pretty clear. The 4 gigs of RAM is the biggest one, leading to constant app reloads. The 60Hz display feels old, and the battery life, especially on the mini, is just not gonna cut it for power users. It's just a 4-year-old phone. But what about the 17? It's not perfect, right? No, it's not a pro phone. And the main differences are this. You do not get a dedicated telephoto zoom lens. That 2x zoom is great, but it's not a 4x or 8x optical zoom like the Pro has. If you are a really heavy gamer, the Pro models have a new vapor chamber cooling system to sustain that A19 performance for longer. This base 17 doesn't. It'll still play games great, but maybe not for as long without, getting warm and throttling. And the USB-C port, it's just standard speed. You still need a Pro model to get the fast USB 3 data transfer speeds. For most people, that doesn't matter. But if you shoot a lot of video, you'll notice. So here we are, the iPhone 13 mini, the last compact king, and the iPhone 17, which is, honestly, it's the Pro iPhone for everyone else. Here's my final thought. If you are still using an iPhone 13 and you're happy with it, if the 4 gigs of RAM doesn't bug you and you can get through the day on your battery, honestly, it's still a capable phone. The A15 is no slouch. If you're like me and you feel that 4 gigs RAM limit every day, if you look at your 60Hz screen and it just feels choppy, and if your battery is, on its last legs, then the iPhone 17 is, in my opinion, a massive and incredibly compelling upgrade. Like I said, I really recommend you upgrade to the 17 if you're excited by that 120Hz ProMotion display, which you should be. And if you want that huge leap in camera quality like the 2x zoom, the macro, and that really cool 18 megapixel front camera. And here's the kicker. Apple is selling this iPhone 17 for $799. That's the same price as last year's base model, but it comes with 256 gigabytes of storage as the starting point. They finally doubled the base storage. So for that price, you are getting a 120Hz display, a chip faster than last year's Pro, a 48 megapixel camera system with macro and 2x zoom, that new 18 megapixel front camera, and 256 gigabytes of storage. That is the best value we have seen in a new iPhone in a very, very long time. If you're coming from a 13 or any older iPhone, you're going to really feel the difference. This is a big one. So those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Are you still rocking an iPhone 13? Are you planning on upgrading to the 17? I'd love to know. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.